Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, coming to you from a cold and rainy day in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, with your DIY home healing, home remedies guide for health, happiness, and healing transformation. Today we're going to be talking about breathlessness, which affects about 15.7 million people around the world. And one of the things about breathlessness is that there's different categories of it, and there's different types of breathlessness leading all the way up to asthma. And sometimes also referred to as COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which affects women, children, and also certain ethnic groups as well. And as people get older, then more and more people tend to suffer from this disease. So what is the root cause of breathlessness? And what are some of the symptoms? Some of the symptoms and signs obviously are breathlessness, panting, difficulty lying down, raising the shoulders or using the shoulders in order to help you breathe, pain in the upper back, tightness of the chest, pain in the shoulders. These are just some of the symptoms. Also phlegm in some cases as well too, but not always. According to traditional Chinese medicine, the word breathlessness is also referred to as the word chuan, spelled C-H-U-A-N, which means to pant. And we're not just talking about panting over the hot guy or gal walking down the street in their Speedo or in their bikini, though I don't think a Speedo is that hot and sexy, but anyways, that's just my opinion. When panting shows up in the body, or this breathlessness shows up in the body, two main organs are involved. One is the lung qi, and the second is the kidney qi. So right now, especially during this time of year where we're in fall, autumn, going into winter, this is where these two organs are most prone to disease and may exacerbate this condition. One of the main causes is actually overly being exposed to wind. So according to Chinese medicine, they say that wind is a driving force for all diseases. So for example, if you are somebody that's struck with Bell's palsy, somewhere inside your system you had the predisposed disposition of a liver dysfunction, and then went out into the wind, and then guess what? You end up paralyzed on the side of your face or the side of your body. And so wind is a driving force for all diseases, and also according to Chinese medicine, I love this word, they call it the 6 pernicious influences, or the wind, or the 6 wind evils, or the 6 evils. And these 6 evils, what happens is, which is dampness, dryness, wind, cold, heat, etc. When wind combines with either cold or heat, then this can invade the body. In this area here in your neck and throat region, this is where what we call the wind gates of the body, and actually where the wind will invade. Now true, if your constitution is strong, and your vitality is strong, and you're getting enough sleep, then the chances of you being invaded by these external pathogens into the body is probably very small. But if your constitution is weak, and one of the etiologies behind kidney deficiency is actually overwork, burning the candles at both ends, not getting enough sleep, if you're doing this over and over again, then what will happen is that this will create predisposed disposition for breathlessness to come in, because what will happen is that this wei qi, which connects to the lungs, actually becomes a lot weaker. And then as a result of that, this wei qi resides closer, and then the wind actually enters in. So you could have wind heat, or you could have wind cold, and sometimes if there's phlegm, there doesn't always have to be phlegm associated with this, but if there is phlegm, then that means that the diet is also playing a role. So things like greasy, fatty, fried foods and processed foods and excessive amounts of cold and raw foods will actually contribute to the dysfunction. Emotionally, emotions of brooding, overthinking things too much, grief and sorrow and sadness, guilt, shame can actually bring on, if this hasn't been processed, could actually bring on this chronic condition. But overall, what invites breathlessness to come in is the lungs' inability to disperse and descend this lung qi, and then as a result the person will have shortness of breath. Okay, so what are some of the things that we could do? Well, one of the things is, especially in the cold, when it's cold like it is right now, we could always wear a scarf. Make sure that we protect those wind gates. Try not to get into drafts, whether it's a heater or an air conditioner, going out into the wind. Try not to expose yourself to either artificial wind or natural wind, or even when somebody breaks wind, try not to expose yourself to that either. The other thing that we could do too is we could really look at the diet, really look at what we're eating. Foods like turnips and garlic and cinnamon are really good foods to help to disperse this lung qi. Seaweed in small packages, little fresh packages of seaweed are really good as well too, as a simple remedy. Also looking at our mental emotional state and really accepting, like if we do have this guilt or this shame, this sorrow or this grief, that we need to let it go or need to process through it. And one of my favorite ways to process through grief and sorrow is doing Qigong. So the first practice is called the lung move, and we're going to start off with our feet out about shoulders width apart, and tip of the tongue is gently curled to the roof of the mouth behind the teeth as if saying the letter N. I'm going to inhale, starting off by pulling down the heavens 3 times, and exhale. Cue music. Inhale and exhale. Just allow for this white light to come in. Inhale, calming your mind, settling your energy. And then what's going to happen is you're going to allow the hands to raise up in front of the chest, inhaling. And as I inhale, I'm going to imagine the color white or silver actually filling up into the lungs. And exhale, inhaling, and exhaling. Now, to make this into more of a mindfulness practice, I want you to focus on a past or present trauma that is surrounded or connected to past or present grief, loss, disappointment, shame, and guilt. Inhaling. And then as you exhale, you're just going to imagine that this white cloud actually leaves out through the thumbs, because that's where the lung acupuncture meridian ends, where it then connects with the large intestine meridian. Allow for it to leave out through the thumbs like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. Inhaling, bringing forth the positive virtue of courage, helping to strengthen the lungs' qi. Okay, doing 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale, pulling that lung qi into the chest, pushing down, pulling down the heavens 1 time, and exhale. Okay, another practice that I like to do is the healing sound for the lungs. So once again, the difference between Qigong practices and just regular mindfulness meditation practices, which are quite amazing also, but the difference with Qigong practices is that it has the mindfulness aspect, but then it also has an active aspect. And the active aspect in this case here is really connecting with the lungs and the emotion that's associated. So I want you to feel what's going on with you. I want you to feel these emotions. This is how you get rid of the vibration. So yes, it's almost like therapy in a way, because we are picking up the scab, but the difference is that either by doing a movement, a Qigong movement, and or healing sound, we actually release the vibration, which then actually helps you to heal the wound from the trauma. So the healing sound for the lungs is so what's going to happen is I'm going to think and focus on a trauma of sadness or loss, disappointment or guilt. Inhale, imagine that this white cloud fills up into the chest, and then as you exhale, just imagine it leaving out through the mouth like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body. So I'm going to inhale, allowing that grief, disappointment to leave, inhaling. And inhaling again. We're going to do it 1 more time audibly. Inhale. And the cool thing about this sound too is that we could do it underneath our breath. So let's say we were in public somewhere and an old thought comes up into our mind and it brings up this grief or this shame for us, or there's a circumstance that happens. Then actually do the sound underneath your breath. So you're going to inhale. And once again, just imagine that this white or silver cloud fills up into the lungs, and then as you exhale, the negative circumstance leaves. Inhale. The lung acupuncture channel is actually internal, where it connects to your large intestine, but it then emerges here. Here's lung 1, lung 2. It's bilateral on both sides of the body, where that elbow crease or the shoulder creases into the chest. So I'm going to cup the hand, and I'm going to gently pat You actually use essential oils in order to stimulate this. So putting eucalyptus on there, for example, is a great essential oil to put onto lung 1 and lung 2. Click on the link below and check out our doTERRA site to where you could actually order this eucalyptus. And what you're going to do is you're going to gently pat, and then you're going to brush out through the thumb. Gently pat, brush out through the thumb. Okay, gently pat, brush out through the thumb. Same thing on this side. Gently pat, brush out through this lung acupuncture meridian. Okay, you could do this 9 to 36 times or as much as you want, and I would do this daily if this is a chronic condition for you. All right, next practice here is for the kidneys. Now our kidneys are located right opposite the navel. And so if you were to stick a stick through your belly button, this point right here, this is your Ming Men, or your gate of fire, gate of life, and this resides between the left and the right kidneys. So one of the things we could do is we could actually place the hands on the kidneys, and the kidneys are affected once again by fear and shock. So shock could be something that you've seen or witnessed, surviving abuse, trauma, neglect, surviving a severe illness. And as I inhale, I'm going to imagine a blue cloud filling up into the kidneys. And then as I exhale, I'm going to imagine that the fear of the shock leaves, and I'm going to make the healing sound of Fu. So I'm going to inhale, Fu. Inhaling, Fu. And as I exhale, I can imagine that the fear or the shock actually leaves out the body, either out through the mouth or out through the bottom of the feet, like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body and into the ground. Inhaling. And once again, the cool thing is that I can actually do the sound underneath my breath. Inhaling. And you can do this as much as you want, once again, 9 to 36 times. Or if you're in public, or if you're driving your car or something, you're feeling this fear or this shock come up, or there's something that was very shocking that you just seen or witnessed, you can actually do the sound underneath your breath. Underneath your breath, you don't have to place the hands on the kidneys. I like to place the hands on the organs if possible when doing the healing sound sometimes, because it helps to bring the mind intent further into that internal organ. All right, so the healing sound is Fu. The positive virtue when these kidneys are vital and strong is a virtue of willpower, gentleness, and wisdom. All right, what's the next thing that we could do? Well, the next thing that we could do in order to strengthen our kidneys is we could actually rub our hands together, create friction between the hands. Now our ears are an extension of the kidneys, and what's very fascinating to me is that in utero, when a fetus is forming, as the kidneys grow, the ears grow at the same time. So the stronger that our constitution is, the stronger this kidney well is. We can normally tell by looking at the size of the ears, the chin, and the plethrum. Okay, so what we could do from here is we rub the hands together. What's going to happen is that once I create heat between the palms, I'm going to inhale, feel this warmth come in through the ears, and it's going to descend down into the kidneys. Exhaling again. Inhale, pull that warmth in, and exhale. One more time, inhaling, feel the friction between the hands. We're going to help to strengthen these kidneys. Inhaling, pulling the warmth. You can imagine a blue cloud coming down into the kidneys as well too, and then exhaling and release. So once again, as we wrap up here, simple things that you could do is avoiding drafts, excessive exposure to wind, either wind cold or wind heat. So what would be wind heat? Like your heater, for example, the heater in the car. Making sure that when you go out in this cold weather, if it's cold where you're at, making sure to wear a scarf to protect these wind gates around the neck, so that in that way the wind can't invade and create this condition. Looking out at our diet, so avoiding things that are cold and raw, especially during this time of year, greasy, fatty, fried food and processed foods, and really the emotions of brooding, over intellectualizing, too much anger, working too much, burning the candles at both ends, not getting enough sleep, and then also the emotions of sadness, grief, sorrow, disappointment, and shame and guilt. So really looking at those emotions. If you have those emotions, try doing the practices that I just recommended for the lungs and the kidneys. When we're looking at breathlessness or shortness of breath, there's two main organs that are involved, which is the lung network and the kidney network, and they both need to work together. Other organs, if there's phlegm involved, would be the spleen. If there's a problem of the lung qi descending like it's supposed to down to the kidneys, then actually emotions of anger and resentment. So the liver could actually obstruct it as well too. But the two main organs comes back to the lungs and the kidneys. So I want to hear from you. Let us know what you think. You can also click on the link below. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We have a lot of great information that's here to help you be able to become the best person that you could possibly be. I'm Chris Shelton, signing off from a cold and rainy day in San Jose, California. Until next time, I will see you later.